on Lunchtime Live about their 8-year-old son Harvey, who has scoliosis. He's currently waiting for life-threatening surgery. But Stephen, you got news recently. News you never expected.
Yeah, we did, Angela, unfortunately. First of all, thanks very much for continuing to highlight the way the state is treating children with scoliosis. You know, our national broadcaster seems to have forgotten about it since they've got their bailout recently. So I'd just like credit where credit's due. Thank you very much for supporting us.
Okay.
So yeah, obviously we last week we got the news that Harvey had been removed from the list. And we were unsure if we wanted to go public with it, but we now know that there's other children that have been removed from that list without being told that their children have been removed from the list.
But when you say removed from the list, Stephen, just explain to listeners what that means.
So, for instance, Harvey, there's an urgent scoliosis list that Harvey was put on 2 years ago because his rib cage was crushed in his his right lung. He continually gets bouts of pneumonia every winter time, ambulance trips, long stays in ICU, and I have to take time off work. So yeah, it's devastating to know that they've decided to take a child off a waiting list who has a 110-degree curve.
This is the wait for surgery, Stephen.
Yeah. And I have to say, Angela, the Taoiseach's comments this morning were a middle finger to families and families like mine. To state that he has full confidence in CHI to fix the scoliosis crisis is absolutely scandalous. This is the same CHI that had non-medical grade springs come through its hospital and implanted into children.
There's a review all right. There's a review all right. I know that's taken place into that, Stephen. But just explain to listeners, this is the wait for surgery for Harvey, for many other parents who've been with us on the programme. How long had Harvey been on that list in the first instance?
2 years, but he'd been monitored since he was 2 years of age, and we've had absolutely no intervention at all. He's 8 years of age. Yeah, he'll be 9 in January. And
how did it come about that he was removed off the list, or how did you find out?
Well, there was a group of parents that received letters to state how the new lists were going to be operating and how they were going to be calculated from now on, and that parents didn't need to do anything, that they didn't need to reply or anything, and we didn't receive one of those letters. All those letters were sent out to parents that were on active waiting lists, and we never got that list. So we queried with the spinal management team why Harvey was removed from the list, or why we didn't receive a letter, and they told us that Harvey wasn't on an active scoliosis waiting list.
Was there any reason for that?
They didn't give us any reason. We have had 3 orthopaedic surgeons saying that Harvey needs surgery immediately, and we've had 1 surgeon who said that he's not willing to do surgery on Harvey. So I don't understand how a 3-to-1, how that 1 surgeon is able to dictate that Harvey would be taken off that list.
And you weren't informed of this, only for other parents?
No, we were not informed. And there's other parents that weren't informed as well.
So since you've received this information, you've talked to other parents in a similar position?
Yeah.
And they've since found out, you say, Stephen, that their child has been taken off the list or removed off the list, or whatever way you want to describe it. They're no longer, this is the list for surgery, so.
Yeah, and this is the list that CHI are publishing that are saying the numbers are coming down.
So is it because they feel that Harvey's condition has progressed so much that they can't operate? Is there been any justification or rationale given?
That we've asked numerous times the head of the spinal management unit, David Moore, and he has repeatedly declined to actually answer our questions. And what I will say is that we're actually going to the media tomorrow to talk to a journalist, and we're giving out Harvey's full story. We want a statutory inquiry that nothing else will do at this point. Nothing else will do at this point. This is absolutely scandalous, and the way the state is mistreating our children is beyond an absolute joke.
So you've sent an email to the clinical lead for spinal services?
Numerous.
Yeah, at CHI.
Yeah.
In relation to Harvey's situation, and now you've found out about the removal. Is it worth contacting the HSE? I mean, to be fair, this might not be their department if this is the Children's Hospital Ireland, CHI, or Children's Health Ireland, I should say. But
the HSE is already auditing CHI Ireland. You know, we've got over, I think, 4 inquiries going on at the moment. Stephen Donnelly is refusing to publish the Arthur Cox one into management at CHI. We have the NIGAM report that still hasn't been out. We have Dulciana Carter's death that still hasn't been published.
And are these reviews actually finished? Do you know, Stephen? Are they?
I know the Arthur Cox one is.
Okay, so it's ready for publication. So you're calling on the Health Minister. You want Stephen Donnelly to publish that without delay.
It's either that or stand down and stop being the Minister for Health, because you're clearly not backing up our families or our children. You've taken the side of CHI and you're protecting CHI and not vulnerable children here in this country that we've seen 19 million euro diverted from these sick kids.
I know the Minister obviously isn't.
That's the same CHI that they're covering for.
Well, look, I know the Minister obviously isn't here with us at the moment, but irrespective of that, you want this review published as soon as possible. When you say you want a statutory inquiry into Harvey's situation, I
want it into the whole situation.
Sorry, into the entire situation.
CHI management. Absolutely.
Okay. And that's something you're calling for at the moment, Stephen?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't think that's a small thing to ask for. Or I don't think that's a big thing to ask for. I think that should be the standard.
That where there's long, lengthy delays like this, and in your situation where
how are we going to fix the problem, Angela? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're being lied to. We're being told that this is going to be fixed, but it's been going on for 7 years now. 7 years, and we're just seeing scandal after scandal after scandal, and nothing has been done about it.
Where do you go at the moment, Stephen, with Harvey's situation?
I've no idea. I've no idea what I am to do. Maybe Simon Harris or Minister Donnelly can tell you what I should do.
So this just you don't know where you sit at the minute, Stephen, in all of this. And that's, I can imagine how frustrating that is for you and for your partner Gillian, who's been with us here many times, because I think it's only about 2 or 3 weeks ago I spoke to Gillian on the show where she had where you posted a video of Harvey and Harvey's condition on social media, and it was directed or sent to the Taoiseach Simon Harris to just sort of highlight the state that Harvey is in and the pain that he's in on a day-to-day basis. It was really a sort of an SOS call.
Yeah, but Harvey isn't the only child. We're just one of the families that is willing to go public. There's over 280-something children that are still waiting on a list that are going through the exact same thing. There's still other orthopaedic conditions that are not being treated in a timely manner. You've got kids that are having their legs turned in. You're having kids that are going into wheelchairs that shouldn't be going into wheelchairs. Like, it is an absolute disaster. It's probably one of the worst health scandals of this century on children.
Do you feel it gets enough attention, Stephen?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't think it does, and I think that people need to be in absolute uproar over it. Like, you're only seeing it now with orthopaedic cases, but urology is just as bad. You know, like, it's a disaster. The hospital system for children is an absolute disaster.
David Cullinan, Stephen, is with us on the line as well. Just bear with me for a moment. David is the Sinn Féin health spokesperson. David, do you have any understanding as to why, I know in Stephen's case, why his son Harvey might have been removed off this list?
Well, first of all, I want to commend Stephen for speaking out, and I think any parent of a child listening to Stephen will, want to offer their full support. And Stephen and Gillian and many other parents have been advocating for their children now for a long, long number of years. So this isn't a scandal that happened today or yesterday. It was 7 years ago since Simon Harris made that promise that hasn't been fulfilled. And I don't know the individual circumstances in relation to what one consultant may have advised, but the scandal here is that Harvey was taken off an active waiting list without the permission of his parents, without the knowledge of his parents, and they only found out, it seems, by accident. And I think that speaks to the lack of transparency that we're seeing at the heart of Children's Health Ireland. And Stephen talked about a number of reports and reviews which are in play at the moment. We obviously have the full independent review, which is ongoing. There has been no interim report. We had an audit that the Minister established to look into the €19 million of funding that was given, which we now have no confidence that the money was spent for the purposes for which it was intended. That report still has not been published. There's a HICWA report which has not been published. There's an Arthur Cox report which has not been published. So how can any parent of a child with spinal bifida and scoliosis have confidence in Children's Health Ireland, in the management, in the board, or indeed in Simon Harris and the Minister for Health? And bear in mind, Simon Harris made a commitment 4 months ago now on the floor of the Dáil that he would meet with the parents and meet with advocate groups. He still hasn't delivered on that promise. So I know what the parents I speak to want. They want full transparency. They want obviously access to surgeries for their children. So the core of this is about the care of the children. They shouldn't have to be waiting for as long as they are. So the very fact that we have these very long waiting lists in the first instance is a scandal. But I think that lack of transparency in relation to waiting lists and the lack of transparency in relation to how parents of these children and the children themselves are being treated, I think is a scandal, and one that the Minister and the Taoiseach need to respond to.
What should happen, David?
Well, I think in the first instance, all of those reports should be published. So any parent,
but how are they just sitting there? Why aren't they being published?
Well, that's a question that should be put directly to the Taoiseach and the Minister for Health. So I'm calling on the reports to be published. Stephen is asking questions of the Taoiseach and the Minister for Health that are not being answered. They haven't had any answers to the questions that they've been asking. I think that is an intolerable situation. No parent, no child, particularly a child who is in pain, who is waiting for surgery, should be treated the way Harvey has and his parents have. So the only way that there can be any trust in the system is that the reviews which have been done are published. So no interim report into the substantive independent review, no publication of the HICWA report, the Arthur Cox report, the audit. These are reports which, in my view, are kicking the can down the road. The government are hiding behind these reviews. We can't answer questions because we have to wait for the review to be published. And all the while, these children are suffering. All the while, these children are still on long waiting lists, taken off waiting lists in the case of Harvey and others. No transparency in relation to it. And serious questions, in my view, for the management of Children's Health Ireland, for the board of Children's Health Ireland, but also, of course, for the Taoiseach and for the Minister for Health. So you're asking me what should happen. The report should be published. It's as simple as that. Publish the report, meet with the families, give them the answers to questions, treat them with respect, and also put the capacity into the system so that we can actually treat these children as opposed to leaving them for years on end on waiting lists and getting to a crisis point.
Yeah, I can understand why there's calls and why Stephen and other parents want the publication of these reports. But I suppose, Stephen, even if these reports were published today, none of that is going to answer your and Gillian's question, which is why was Harvey removed off this list? Is it possible to get him back on the list?
I'm sure I could possibly get him back on the list. I don't know. I think if there's enough public pressure on CHI and the spinal management team, I think they could put him back on the list. I don't know why he was removed in the first place. They haven't told me why he was removed. I've asked questions several times and they've evaded the question.
We asked this morning, we got on to CHI to find out, and I have a response from them here in email. Children's Health Ireland cannot comment on individual cases. Even if a family decides to make their story public, we are still bound by patient confidentiality. A patient's clinical team can speak to the family directly to explore all treatment options available. That's the statement I have. That's the first time I've certainly ever seen, in addition to a public statement, the line that even if a family decides to make their public story or make their story public, we're bound by patient confidentiality.
Okay. But why hasn't CHI gone on to me? Why have they got onto the radio station and not actually rang me or addressed the questions that I emailed to them?
Yeah, it's a fair question. Stephen, I wish you the best.
They've had time to do it for you, but they haven't had time to do it for my family or the other families.
Yeah. No, I can't disagree with you on that. Stephen, I do keep in touch with us and do keep us posted if you do hear anything further or get any further developments. But I can understand and fully appreciate the frustration that you and Gillian must be experiencing, particularly finding out, I know the long and lengthy delays, but also finding out that Harvey is, for whatever reason, off this list and no reason why, and that the fact that you only seem to have found out accidentally about it as well. Stephen Morrison, thank you for joining us in the programme today. Also, Sinn Féin's health spokesperson, I should say, David Cullinan as well. The email is lunchtime live